back. So if there's somebody you don't recognize, introduce yourself. Y'all know how it is. Those of you that have been with us, you know, it becomes kind of a big family. So make sure if it looks like somebody maybe doesn't know somebody, reach out to that person. I'm going to be on my bike today, so hopefully I can touch base with everybody at some point. And I think Keith's going to run, so he may bounce around. But anyway, just, you know, be that person. Couple of things. Just some basic running reminders. We always run facing traffic. Don't let me find you crossing the yellow line. There should never be traffic at your back. If you're running with headphones, I'm not opposed to that, but I'd appreciate only maybe one ear in so that you can hear me. If I say something, you can hear cars, you can hear, you know, whatever, other people, dogs, whatever. What ends up happening all the time is people are like, well, I'm not necessarily running not facing traffic, but then you're running 5 wide, and so the person that doesn't want to get left out of the conversation is over the yellow line, and then a car comes and people split both directions, which is really dangerous for everybody. That's a good way to get all of us mowed down. So really be really conscious of that this year. Those of you that know me know that's like probably my biggest pet peeve. Because that's a safety thing. So, you know, I feel responsible for you guys when we're out here. So if I continuously see you doing dumb shit, I'm going to have to call you out on it. So, you know, it is what it is. Don't leave the route unless you've told me ahead of time that you're going to, or you have a stomach issue and you tell somebody, you know, let Star know I had to get off the route or whatever. Because we just don't want to 2 hours from now be like, where in the world is Courtney? You know, do I need to be driving around? You know, worried. So you never know. Anything can happen. Calling you out. So just, you know, I understand things happen, but if you know you're cutting her out short because of timing, I've got 2 people doing that today, great, just let me know. It just keeps us from wondering what in the world happened to you. So, about the training this year, totally different than anything we've ever done. Really big leap of faith for me to change something that I've done and that has worked really, really well for 9 years. So it was a struggle that I've been really working on for about 2 years, and then it was just an epiphany one day, and I was like, well, this is how it should be, and this is how it should have been. So hopefully it works, but so the difference is, for those of you that may not remember or may not know, in the past we've always started in the summer, and it's always been specific for to the Cooper Young 4-mile race, and we've started everybody with intervals, and it started that way because 9 years ago, I think it was, when I was training at Imbalance and we moved into Cooper Young, I said, I think there should be a training group for the Cooper Young 4-miler because we freaking live in the neighborhood. I'm at this gym and no one does it. And so I started one, but we had 22 people and all 22 people were beginners. So everybody started with intervals, and then it just stayed that way. And what we found was we would do that race and then maybe the half in the fall, but then no one would run again until the next summer. So it was easy to kind of start everybody back with intervals. Everybody was always starting over. But my goal has always been, as a running coach, is not only to teach you how to run better for you, but also to really learn to love it and make it a lifestyle thing and not just a seasonal thing. So I think I've succeeded, because the dilemma that caused me is I have people that now run year round, so it wasn't going to work anymore that 100% of the people were going to start at a 60-second interval or whatever it may be. However, you do also have the dilemma that when you don't have the accountability of a running group and a running coach that's texting you and wanting to know where you are, you may not run as much as you were 3 months ago or whatever. So with that being said, what I decided, which is going to be complicated on my end, but I hope that it doesn't feel that way for you all, but I'm basically trying to individualize within the group as much as possible. So I've spoken individually with 100% of you, and I've figured out where I think people need to start today, whether it's with intervals or not. Probably over 65%, I haven't done the math, but we'll be starting with intervals. Intervals are something I really want to talk about today. One, and I'm going to make sure I get through these bullet points because this is one of those things. If I've talked to you about an interval or not an interval, whatever you've been told to do today, I want you to do. If it's that you're supposed to do a 3-1 or you're not doing intervals at all, I want you to try that. Don't get out there today and decide, well, this feels kind of crappy, I think I'm going to change it. Or this feels easy, I'm going to run 5 instead of 3 and whatever. Everything about running is strategy, whether you're a brand new runner or you've been running for 30 years. Running is strategy. I am confident that I've always gotten people to races prepared. So whether you really understand the strategy or not, always feel free to come to me and ask. But I don't really like I don't like it to be where we've discussed something and then I'm out and I turn around and someone's supposed to be just running and you're just strolling down Barksdale, because I'm like, who are you benefiting here? And we see that. So the thing about intervals too is they're used for different things. So intervals do not equal I'm a slow runner or I'm a beginner runner whatsoever. I particularly use intervals for two different things. So one, I've always used them if I'm starting somebody fresh, because intervals are the best way to build endurance without fatigue. There's a million scientific articles about how you can ward off fatigue with a walk break, and I'll get into what walk break means. But and so using intervals to get people going, to get people coming back from injury, maybe just a little bit of a break, give your body, change things up. And also, we've always used intervals for endurance, like our marathon group, like Estelle just did. So she just ran 26.2 miles using intervals. You can't tell her she didn't just run a marathon. I can guarantee you that. So there are different strategies. I have people that have used the run walk interval method for a half marathon, Keith, and did it in 1:49. So you may find that someone using intervals is faster than those of you not. Just because you do intervals, it doesn't set you up where you're going to fall in the group. So don't think I'm doing intervals, that means I must be the slow one. That must mean I'm being I'm not a good runner. If I were running today, I would do intervals. I like intervals. So also about intervals, so talking about the two different strategies for intervals, those that are building up that maybe haven't run in a year or whatever, their intervals will build differently. We'll build probably like we've done in the past up to like a 20-minute interval before I totally take out walk breaks. Those that have been running that are using the intervals to acclimate to heat, that maybe 4 miles is like, they're like, 3.5 is great, but that last half mile I'm slowing down a lot. You're going to save more time using an interval program. But what you do with that, the strategy, like for someone doing a marathon, if you use intervals, you always take your walk break within the first mile, which is why those of you that are doing a 7-1, you will not go past a 9-1 if you go there. I'll either leave you at a 7-1 or you'll take out the walk breaks altogether. And so does that make sense, like where the difference is there? So the theory is, and the research shows, that if you take the walk break within the first mile, then you ward off the fatigue on the later miles, and all the research shows it works. And the statistics I've looked at, that I've compared my own runners that have done a race with and without, same race, they end up saving a lot. Like my marathoners, they save a ton of time on the back half when they use an interval program than when they don't. So just don't, I know a lot of people look at intervals like they're being punished, and it's so not what it is. It's just strategy. It's literally all it is. Let's see. As far as running, whether you're doing intervals or not, we're going to run by feel for the first couple of weeks, and then we'll look into getting some pacing sent out. So this week for sure, everything should just be easy. So I don't really care if you want to do speed today or whatever, that's not on the plan. So follow the plan. So to run by feeling easy, you should be able to have a conversation without heavy breathing, without it struggling. And if you can't, no big deal, just slow down. Like, people have this idea, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm running a such and such. Who cares? You are going to get better if you follow the plan. And by better, that doesn't, maybe that doesn't equate to faster, maybe it does, but stronger. I mean, wouldn't it be awesome to finish a run and not feel like you have to go take a nap every time, you know? So, just things like that. Just make sure that you are paying attention. It's hot out, and as we've always talked about in the past, your heart rate, you have to work a lot harder in the heat and in the humidity. So you're going to find that if you were running a 11-minute mile in December and that felt pretty good, that might feel like shit today. No big deal. That doesn't mean you've lost fitness. It means you're dealing with acclimating with the heat and humidity. So if you're running a 12, your body's probably working the same amount. So don't beat yourself up over stuff like that. It's just not necessary. So I know y'all are ready to go, but I know during the week everybody is anxious to get to work and whatever, or we have to get to work. We may not be anxious to go, but if on Saturdays you have time, it's a great time after the run to sit around, stretch a little bit, talk to your teammates that you may not run with, because it ends up that you run with the same people because you are typically paced with somebody and that's who you run with, and you don't really get to know all the others. And I think that's such a disservice for y'all, because it's a great group and it's a great group of people. And in years past, we always on Saturdays, it was like if we could, we spent a good bit of time afterwards just chit-chatting and stretching and refueling. And I would like for people to get in the habit of that. You may not think, well, I need to stretch after this 4-mile run, but take 5 minutes to talk to people maybe that you didn't run with. And also, those of you that literally stop and get right in your car, that's kind of dangerous. Your blood is pooling, so it is better also physically if you don't do that. All right, I'm gonna go over the route and then